Welcome into another edition of Bet. I'm Anita Marks. She's Erin Dolan. I don't know about you, Erin, but I am playing with house money after week one. What a great Sunday it was for me. How was it for you?
It was good. It was a lot of fun. I feel like a lot of bets hit, which just, adds more pressure for tonight and then Thursday night, and then we just keep doing it over and over again. So we'll be doing the same routine until February. It's a little stressful, but it's definitely one heck of a ride.
Well, it is Monday night and a big game. A lot of people really excited to see. Of course, Russell Wilson, will he cook against his former team in Seattle? We're going to break it all down for you. But we're going to start on the diamond, and we're going to do a little, you've played this game before with Tyler, I'm sure, reaction or no action. And we're starting with Albert Pujols. As we know, he is just 3 home runs away from joining that 700 club. And my question to you is, does he do it? Reaction or no action? Does Albert Pujols reach 700, Erin?
Reaction. I'm not going to bet against the guy. He's so close to getting it. He needs 3 more homers, and I know we're winding down the season, but at the same time, he can get there. They're going to end up playing the Reds right now, and then towards the end of the season, they got to play teams like the Pirates. So I do think he'll be able to get one off some of the pitchers that he will face over the next couple of weeks. And obviously, this is a really cool thing for him to almost have 700 home runs. Just think about how many games he had to play and how many times he's ran those bases like that. It's pretty awesome to think about. So I'd have to go with reaction for this one.
Yeah, ditto. Lock and step with you. I'm reaction here. Let's be honest, one of the best pure hitters in the history of baseball, and just an opportunity to join just 3 other people who hit 700 home runs in their lifetime. And right now he's batting .266. He's got 18 home runs on the season in 90 games. Tuesday he's going up against Corbin Burns. And another thing that we're hearing, Erin, is that this is his last season. He's going to retire. So it's now or never. So I'm with you. Reaction, I do believe he does it. And of course, I'm sure all of us are going to be rooting for him to do so. Okay, here we go. Reaction or no action number 2. We're going back to the gridiron, and it's the Cowboys. Rough night for them. Not only did they lose to the Tampa Bay Bucks, but they lost Dak Prescott for quite a few weeks. So now the Cowboys start the season 2-4. Now keep in mind their next few games: the Bengals, the Giants, the Commanders, the Rams, the Eagles. Reaction, no action, that the Dallas Cowboys start the season 2-4, Erin.
You're giving me one of 2 choices, so I'm going to have to go just, reaction on this one. I'm changing it up on this one. The reason being is the Cowboys, I'm never going to bet with them and think they're going to win. They looked atrocious in that game before Dak Prescott even was taken out with that injury. They put up 3 points. You're the Dallas Cowboys in the opening game against the Bucks. You have 3 points. That's all you can come up with. Look, the Bengals looked really bad. They really did against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and obviously that was a crazy game. But going against them, I think the Bengals will figure it out this week. Then you got the Giants, who now, are trying to make waves with the, 2-point conversions. They're trying to figure things out. I don't really trust Carson Wentz, the Commanders, but you never know. If you have a depleted Cowboys roster, depleted on offensive line, defensive line, the Commanders could probably get a win. Rams, I feel like an easy win against Dallas, and the Eagles would beat up on them in October. So it could happen. It very much well can happen. I feel bad for Cowboys fans that, you don't never want your quarterback to go down in week 1. That's terrible news. Again, he's only going to be out 6 to 8 weeks, but still, who knows what it's going to look like after that. But unfortunately, Dak Prescott's very injury prone, and honestly, I think they could start out 2-4.
So I'm going no action here. I don't believe they could win 2 games with what's coming up, because, as you said, Erin, they looked absolutely horrific, even with Dak Prescott quarterbacking for them. And no disrespect to Cooper Rush, but the talk today in and around ESPN and all the fabulous shows, of course, that we air here is, what are the Dallas Cowboys going to do in regard to a quarterback? Are they going to reach out to the 49ers and try to bring in Jimmy Garoppolo? I know Dan Orlovsky was suggesting the backup quarterback for the Ravens. I love Gardner Minshew. Are the Eagles willing to part ways with him? Not sure. So I'm going no action here. Maybe they'll be lucky to beat the Giants, but Giants looked good yesterday. A lot of people weren't anticipating them to beat the Tennessee Titans. So I'm going no action here. I don't believe they're going to be able to win 2 of their next 6 games. All right, here we go. We're sticking with the gridiron, and we're talking about tonight's game. Again, Russell Wilson going back to Seattle. Reaction or no action, can the Broncos score, Erin, in all 4 quarters?
No action for me on this one. Look, everyone's talking about Russ going back, being able to cook. There's going to be some rust there. He didn't play in the preseason. You got new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new offensive line that you're playing behind. I'm not saying they're not going to win, and I'm not saying they're not going to be able to cover things like that. I just don't think they're going to score in every quarter. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a low-scoring game, especially in that first quarter, that first half. I don't expect much from Seattle. Overall, I don't see the Denver Broncos scoring in every quarter for Monday Night Football. I don't see it happening.
Okay, we are on the opposite side here. Again, I'm going reaction, and you can get it at plus 185. Here's the thing. They can do it by air. They can do it by land. You look at Russell Wilson, the wide receiving core that he's working with, the tight end, and you've got they've got 2 rookie corners that are starting. Meanwhile, you look at the backfield with Williams and Gordon. And the Seattle Seahawks, unfortunately, Bobby Wagner not there anymore. Their linebacking core, no bueno, Erin. So I think they can. I think they're going to be able to move the ball at will. And at 185 plus 185, I'm going to play it. So I got reaction there for me. Before we continue to talk about this matchup, let's check in. We've got both beat reporters for both Seattle and Denver that we're going to check in with to get an update on both teams. Let's start in Denver with Jeff Legwold.
Thanks, Anita. All week, everyone around the Broncos organization has stuck to the script. It's just another game for Russell Wilson. It's just a business trip. No big deal. Yeah, right. Okay. I think the prevailing wisdom in the Bronco locker room among his teammates, the people who work around him, his new co-workers, is that they very much would want to make this a special night for Russell Wilson because they know it's important to Russell Wilson. He wants to have a big day, not just to get off to a great start with the Broncos, but to show the Seattle Seahawks he still has a lot left in the tank, and he has a lot he wants to do in the league and in the coming years with the Broncos.
The defense Russell Wilson sees tonight will be much different than the Seahawks defenses he faced in practice over his 10 seasons in Seattle. There's more of an emphasis on 3-4 looks up front and split safety looks on the back end. Pete Carroll and company hope that'll make it harder for Wilson and other quarterbacks to know what's coming. Carroll said he's never been more familiar with another player than he is with Wilson, but he added, quote, "He knows me too. He knows us." No one knows exactly how Wilson will be received by Seahawks fans tonight at Lumen Field. Longtime teammate Tyler Lockett said he thinks the quarterback deserves a warm ovation for everything he's meant to the organization and to the community as well with all of his charitable work. Carroll, on the other hand, gave a much different answer to that same question, and he flashed a smile while doing it. Carroll said, quote, "You're either competing or you're not." And he added, quote, "I'll leave that up to the 12s. I think they'll know exactly what to do."
Thank you, gentlemen. Erin, it's time for us to break it down. And the line is 6.5. Of course, the Denver Broncos favored on the road. The over-under's at 44. How are you playing this matchup?
So in terms of the spread, I'm going to stay away from this. It opened -3.5 back in May, has continued to move up, and it makes a lot of sense. Now, if this was -7, I think I would honestly grab the Seahawks at that number. But just overall, I feel like the Denver Broncos -6.5 is way too easy of a play. And considering it moved up to -7 this morning and came right back down to -6.5, it's just telling me different things. So staying from the spread completely. And then in terms of the total, I'm also not really going to play that. I'm going to isolate the Seahawks team total and go under 18.5. We know the Seahawks are not a good team, and then they're expecting to be okay under Geno Smith. Are you kidding me? You have 2 rookie offensive tackles around him who are not going to protect him. He's also interception prone, and he's Geno Smith. Did you see what he looked like in the preseason? I'm not trying to overreact to the preseason, but at the same time, he scored 10 points in 2 halves that he played in the final 2 preseason games of the season. So for me personally, just knowing that Geno Smith is under center, I don't really trust this team. And I just don't think they're going to get things going on offense. Maybe they'll surprise us with a touchdown early on or something like that, go up 7 points and kind of just shock everybody while the Denver Broncos try to figure it out. But they're going to go under 18.5 points. That's one of my favorite bets for tonight.
I'm going to play the total. I'm going to play the side, and my side is the Denver Broncos, man. Let Russ cook. There is so much riding for him on this game emotionally, and I want to imagine and believe that the players in that Denver Broncos locker room know how important this is going to be, especially after the report that came out on ESPN.com in regard to Pete Carroll and and Russ and their relationship and potentially trying to be traded away from Seattle, I think that this is going to be a real emotional game. He wants to come out. He wants to make a statement. And the Denver Broncos, they check all the boxes. They're so much better than Seattle. In the secondary, like I said, some issues for Seattle as well as their linebacking core. I just think offensively, I think they put up a ton of points. So I do like Seattle here. Might be a little concerned with the backdoor cover with the garbage time with Geno Smith. Who knows? But as we know, Pete Carroll, he likes to run the football a lot. I think this game has the opportunity to really get away from Seattle. So I'm going to lay the 6.5. Let's talk about some prop bets out there. You know me, I've got my Cheesecake Factory menu of prop bets, but let's start with you. Erin, what are some of the prop bets you like heading into tonight's game?
Oh, Anita, I'm so sure you do have a whole plethora of them. But I honestly have been looking for props that I absolutely love. This morning I was looking for them. Yesterday I was looking for them. And this game has just been so hard to handicap in general. Then deep diving into the prop market has been even tougher, I think, for this game for some reason, just because we don't really know how Denver is going to look, to be honest. But I did narrow it down to two. And one of my best bets, and I talked about this on Daily Wager, the first one is going to be Russell Wilson over 22.5 completions. So Seattle allowed 23 plus completions in 13 games last season. That's the most in the NFL, by the way. They were terrible against the pass. And looking back, I know Russ only hit over this twice in 14 regular season games last season, but there's a few things working in his favor. For one, cornerback Artie Burns is doubtful to play for Seattle, meaning the three starting cornerbacks have 0 career starts in the NFL. So this is going to work in Russ's favor because obviously he has Jerry Jeudy, also Cortland Sutton. So I'm going to go Wilson over completions. Then I'm also looking at Geno Smith to go under 30.5 passing attempts. The man has hit over this once. I'm talking once in the past 4 games that he played last season. And let me tell you, the one that he did go over, it was an overtime game. He averaged 24 passing attempts in that 4-game stretch. And unfortunately, he's got an alarming high 3.7% interception rate for his career. So what does that tell me? He's probably going to end up handing the ball off. And if anything, the Denver Broncos are going to be picking the ball up all night. So I just think they'll have the ball more so than the Seattle Seahawks. So Geno Smith under passing attempts is the second one that I like.
All right, buckle up. You know me, Erin. Here we go. First and foremost, like I said, I think this is going to be a big game for Russell Wilson. So I'm going to go over touchdowns at 1.5. I'm also going to go over passing yards at 255.5. You get that at minus 115. He averaged almost 250 passing yards a game, and that's being handcuffed by Pete Carroll because they like to run the ball so much. Meanwhile, Seattle gave up almost 300 passing yards per game last season, and their secondary did not get any better. Sutton, I'm wearing his t-shirt for a reason. Over 5.5 receptions as well as over 59.5 receiving yards. Reports are is that he has become Russell Wilson's favorite target. And so I'm expecting him to go to him a lot. And of course, like I said earlier, Seattle, they've got 2 rookie corners starting tonight, so he should have a field day against them. Give me Javonte Williams over 57.5 rushing yards. I do believe that the handle in the backfield is going to be a 65-35% split between him and Melvin Gordon. And like I said, Seattle's linebacker, Bobby Wagner, he is gone. They're missing some linebackers due to injury. I think Williams has a field day against that linebacking core and that defense. And last but not least, I'm going Geno Smith over 209.5 passing yards. Why? I think we're going to see garbage time in the fourth quarter. I think he's going to be throwing the rock all over to DK Metcalf as well as Tyler Lockett to try to catch up to the plethora of points that I expect the Denver Broncos to put up on Seattle tonight. So those are 4 of my favorite prop bets heading into the Monday night game. Now we have something else we're doing this season. This is fun, very similar to what Tyler and I did during the baseball season, Diamond Dollars. So we're starting the season, Erin, with $100. Each of us are starting with $100, and it's called Pay Dirt Picks. Now we can utilize that $100 in any way we can, but we can pick anywhere between 1 to 3 players each Monday night to score a touchdown. Okay, but you have $100 for the season. So ten cuidado. You want to be careful. You start. Give me the players you think are going to score touchdowns tonight, and how much money are you allotting to those bets?
All right, honestly, there's not many that I like for tonight, which is why I'm only giving you one. I'm gonna go Jerry Jeudy, and I'm putting $15 on it. Like, I don't even feel risky about this because I don't even know who's gonna end up scoring for this game. I feel like, again, out of all the games on the slate this weekend, that's been the toughest to handicap. But Jerry Jeudy, just because I think he potentially will end up being open because everyone knows that Cortland Sutton is now supposedly his #1 guy. Maybe that's correct, but we thought the same thing about Allen Robinson on Thursday Night Football, didn't we? So we'll kind of see how things shake out in terms of that. that. I know he didn't end up having any touchdowns last season, then was unfortunately injured, but I think things will turn around this season. So I do think Russell Wilson will end up, targeting him. He's going to end up having a touchdown. Jerry Jeudy, I'm just going to put $15 on it. We're going to go light for week 1 until next Monday, when I'm sure I'll have a plethora of anytime touchdown scores.
All right, so I have 3 touchdown scores that I think are going to happen. One, again, I'm wearing his shirt for a reason. I think Courtland Sutton has a big night tonight. Hopefully you have him in your fantasy team. I'm putting $5 down that he's going to score an anytime touchdown. Targeted 12% of the time in the red zone compared to Jeudy at 5% last season. We'll see if that continues. Again, I know, new quarterback at the helm. Melvin Gordon, anytime touchdown. He had 9 touchdowns, pretty much averages 9 touchdowns a season. Dare I call him a TD vulture? I just might. I think when they get in the red zone, Gordon is going to get the ball. And last but not least, why not a Russell Wilson touchdown? I'll put $3 on it. It's plus 390. Why the heck not? Again, this is a big night for him. I can see him holding the football and doing one of those quarterback keeps and running in and scoring one with his own 2 feet. So those are the 3 that I'm playing for tonight as well. Without further ado, Erin, we are going to jump to the diamond. I know football has been king for the last week, but there's still baseball action happening. Jeff Passan joins us here on Bet. So Jeff, under a month left in the season, and there are 2 division races that are still up for grabs. And probably, you know me, I'm here in New York. None more exciting than what's going on with the Mets and the Braves. At one point in time, this Mets team, a 10.5 lead in the National League East. Now that's drilled down to 1.5. But the Mets are still favored to win this division at minus 225. How would you play this?
I would put a plethora of money, ladies, on the Atlanta Braves. And here's why. I just think they're a better baseball team, and that's no slight to the Mets. The New York Mets have a chance to win the World Series this year. Frankly, a not insignificant chance to win the World Series this year. If Jacob deGrom is pitching how he's pitching, if Max Scherzer comes back healthy, and if they can have their guys who get on base against superior pitching, that could be a championship caliber ball club. I just look at the talent that Atlanta has, and you saw it on Sunday night. Michael Harris, the star rookie, hitting a pair of home runs, including a huge one, 430-plus feet in the 9th inning off Paul Sewald. I mean, Atlanta is talented top to bottom. Their pitching has been shored up by Spencer Strider, who goes tonight, and Kyle Wright as well this year. I just think they're the better team.
And the White Sox, Jeff, they were actually the favorite to win the AL Central heading into the season, and they haven't been since April 20th. They're 2.5 games behind the Guardians currently, and the Guardians are minus 200 to end up winning it. So who do you actually think is going to end up winning the AL Central?
Look, if Tim Anderson comes back, then that may change the race. But right now, I'm sticking with the Cleveland Guardians. They've been more consistent all year long. And they're starting pitching with Shane Bieber and Tristan McKenzie at the top of their rotation, goes deep with Cal Quantrill in there as well. It's really good. And the Guardians are almost like a lesser version of the New York Mets. They don't have that Pete Alonso type in the lineup, though Jose Ramirez is a star in his own right. But they do have guys who can handle the bat. And I think down the stretch, as good as the White Sox can be, I had them going to the World Series and winning before this season, so they have disappointed me all year long. I'm sticking with the consistent team, and that's Cleveland.
So, Jeff, yesterday around 4 o'clock Eastern time, if you heard this high-pitched scream when Albert Pujols surpassed Alex Rodriguez as the 4th of the all-time home run record, that was our producer, Weimer. Just to want to let you know. So as we know, right now he sits at 697. Cardinals have 21 games left. Pujols minus 133. Minus 133 before the to reach 700. Now before this tear, he went on this tear, you actually could have gotten this bet at 14-1. It's now minus 133. Are you playing it?
I'm staying away from this, honestly. Listen, I like watching my history without any money on the line. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm conservative. I feel like there's enough action involved right now with Albert Pujols, but I'm especially staying away from it because what history tells us is that coming into the final month of the season, Albert Pujols needed 6 home runs to get to 700. The last time he hit 6 home runs was 6 home runs in 1 month was more than a half decade ago. It's been a long time since Albert Pujols has been on a run like this, and while I keep waiting for it to stop, and this just seems to be the runaway train that's not going to, I also know baseball is a very fickle game, and the sort of game where as hot as you have been for the last 2 months like Albert Pujols has, it can go away, boom, like that. And so I'm just going to sit back and enjoy. I feel like the odds are not great in either direction at this point, so let's watch and take in history as opposed to necessarily win money on it.
Listen, whoever got it at 14-1, God bless you. And I'm going to be rooting for him. Of course, you might not be putting money on him, Jeff, but I'm sure you're going to be rooting for him, like all of us. Jeff, thank you so much for joining Erin and I on Bet. Appreciate it. Have a great night.
Thank you, ladies. Appreciate it.
You got it. All right, Erin, so let's talk about our favorite MLB play heading into tonight. And let's start with you. What you got?
All right, let's go with a long ball, long shot. I'm going to go to a game that many people probably don't want to watch. It's the Pirates and the Reds. But for my long ball, long shot, we are going with Bryan Reynolds to hit a homer. He actually leads the Pirates with 21 homers this season. And yes, he hasn't hit a homer yet this month, but eventually he's going to be able to get one. Mike Minor is going to be on the mound for the Reds. He's got a 4-10 record, 5.7 ERA. Reynolds actually hit 2 homers off of Cincy back in May. Again, that was months ago. But at the same time, eventually he's going to start heating back up. Mike Minor's not a good pitcher. Bryan Reynolds, I'm thinking of stardom. Bryan Reynolds is going to be able to hit one off of them, I think. So that's why I'm going to go with the long ball, long shot for tonight.
I'm going to go with the Blue Jays on the money line. Now, earlier today, when I gave this bet to our producer, Weimer, it was minus 145. When I understand now, it's like minus 160 something. No bueno. However, I still do like the Blue Jays on the money line. For the Blue Jays, for the Rays, Chris Wall is going to start, which means that he's going to have a short leash. It's more than likely going to be a bullpen game for the Rays. Also, they're missing some relievers. Don't forget, Erin, when they play in Toronto, if you're not vaxxed, you can't make the trip, yada, yada, yada. We know how that goes. The Rays, 6-5 on the road the last 30 days. And Berrios is pitching for Toronto. His last start against the Rays, he only gave up 2 earned runs in 5 innings pitched. So I do like the Blue Jays. Again, I apologize. It was minus 145 earlier today. I jumped on it back then, so I wish it was better odds for you. Nonetheless, let's go from the diamond to the hardwood. The WNBA, obviously, their championship. We saw what happened. The Aces, they won the first game 67-64, so they're up 1-0 in the series. There's game 2 tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Aces favored by 4.5. The over-under is 163.5. How are you playing this, Erin?
I'm going to take the Aces team total and go over for this one. So yesterday I was on SportsCenter and I said take the under 87.5 points, and it ended up cashing. And the reason being, I think, is because we've seen the Aces in the first couple of games, whether that's in the semifinals or whether that's in the first round. They started off the first couple of games pretty slow, and then they picked it up. I mean, the Aces can score. They're one of the best offensive teams in the WNBA, but they're also going against the Sun, who's one of the best defensive teams. But I just think, considering how angry their head coach Becky Hammon was at them, I mean, this girl, she was lit. She was yelling at the team and whatnot. They also there's some things that they're going to see some positive regression in. For example, they had 10 turnovers. They also went 5 for 24 from 3. That's hitting 21%. That's very unlike them. So I do think they're going to go into this game, the shots are going to end up falling, and I think this might just be a higher scoring game for both of these teams. I mean, we've seen them play 3 times during the regular season, and the overs were cashing on both of those games, or 2 out of the 3. So I think the first game was a little bit slow, they got their bearings, and then this one they're going to pick it up. So I'm going to isolate the Aces team total, and we're going to go over for that.
All right, we've got about 4 minutes left in the show. Let's take a look back to week 1, Erin. And I'm curious, what are the biggest surprises that stood out to you last week, this past, yesterday, week 1 of the NFL season?
Well, I got to experience for the first time being here in Bristol on a Sunday, so I was able to watch all the games together, and it was actually pretty wild to be able to watch everything in real time. But, I mean, I have so many takeaways. The one thing I'll say in terms of betting is we saw a lot of comebacks in that fourth quarter. Remember, if you're holding a ticket and you think it's not going to cash, you can always live bet. We saw the Saints come back. They had a historic comeback win in that fourth quarter. The Panthers ended up coming back. They didn't end up winning. The Colts came back in that fourth quarter, tied it up with the Texans. That ended in a tie. And then the Bears, for example, they also came back in the fourth quarter, put up some points, and ended up winning and beating the 49ers. I mean, it was wild, and I'm sure after week 1 we do a lot of overreactions or not a reaction. I think, for example, the Rams, not an overreaction, or excuse me, not the Rams, the Bills, not an overreaction from Thursday Night Football. I mean, they look absolutely incredible. But then you have some other teams that are kind of floating around where you're like, well, where do they really stand? What do they really look like? The Bengals are a great example. I mean, Joe Burrow looked absolutely atrocious. The offensive line looked atrocious. The defense looked atrocious. But then again, they also came back and almost, it went into overtime, and they couldn't figure out that game until the Steelers finally won, was able to get it through or get a field goal. So all around, I would say the most surprising thing is just in that fourth quarter, how many comebacks there were. It made it really exciting. And yeah, there's a lot of great things going on, but we can't overreact to week 1. If we were talking week, 4 or 5 and there were some serious issues, I think that's when we'll really be overreacting.
For me, a few things happened. Number one, and I'm going to go player by player here first, and that is Jameis Winston not realizing that Jarvis Landry had run out of bounds and stopped the clock, and he spiked the ball, therefore he got a penalty. So a little rusty there in regard to paying attention to what's going on. It hurt the Saints, even though they did end up winning. How about the Bears rookie kicker not realizing you can't bring a towel out onto the field and dab up where you're going to kick the ball to make it dry? How do you not know you can't do that in the NFL? And then what really shocked me was the Tennessee Titans. You have an opportunity to run the football with Derrick Henry and get your field goal kicker closer to try to make a field goal, but it's more important for you to be on the side of a hash mark than it is for you to gain more yards to give your field goal kicker a 30-yard field goal to make as opposed to a 50. And of course, we know the Tennessee Titans ended up losing to the Giants. But more importantly, big picture, man, how about the Falcons?
Yeah, I was shocked by that.
Patterson, 22 for 120 yards and a touchdown. He picked up where he left off. Drake London, a lot of people think he's going to win Rookie of the Year. So Atlanta making it close, making it competitive against the Saints. And then what about the Texans? Up on the Colts 20-3 until the fourth quarter. Davis Mills, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns. O.J. Howard, 2 touchdowns? So for me, the Texans and the Falcons really, stepping up to the table and playing against 2 teams that a lot of people feel are going to win the division. So those 2 games really stood out to me, right?
And then, of course, speaking of divisions, the NFC East odds were absolutely down all day, and then I think they're going to eventually, obviously, come back up. But Dallas Cowboys, they dropped to the bottom of the barrel, and week 1, someone going out, so you might still want to grab the Eagles because I don't think the Washington Commanders, even though, what they looked like, they got the win. This is Washington Commanders. Come on now. Well, they went against the Jags.
Listen,
I'm sorry.
We've been telling people to play the Philadelphia Eagles for months now, you and I, right?
I know.
2 lines really quick before we sign off that I'm jumping on right now, and that is Cleveland -6.5 against the Jets. Jump on it before it gets to 7.5. Also, I like the under of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Patriots. Steelers dealing with some injuries. Patriots as well. Mac Jones possibly a back injury. So I'm taking the under at 43. Erin, love you, girl. Enjoy Monday Night Football. Go Russell Wilson. You cook in Seattle. Everybody, thanks for tuning in to Bet. Good luck tonight.